Here we go. From the Silver Creek Studios, I'm Jared, and this is the B-Fibs Almanac. With every season, change, change, change. There are changes aplenty on this off day for the Cardinals. There's a lot to take a look at, so let's dig in. All right, like we said, there are plenty of changes that just took place today, Monday, this off day for the Cards. Yadi Molina was activated from the IL, and Knizner was optioned back to AAA. I think a lot of people liked what they saw from Andrew Knizner. He didn't get a ton of playing time. Wieters was really doing a good job, and I think kind of kept Knizner on the bench. But when he played, he seemed to be a productive hitter and a good defender. I think they said he threw out 3 of the 4 runners that tried to steal on him. Small sample size, obviously, but I think for the most part, fans liked what they saw from Knizner. Yadi's coming off the IL. Jose Martinez is going on the IL. He, if you didn't see, he ran into the outfield wall the other night making a catch. It wasn't a hard hit, nothing like that, but it just did enough apparently to that shoulder joint that he was feeling a lot of pain and discomfort. So they put him on the 10-day IL and called up Randy Arozarena. So a lot of people have been clamoring for Arozarena to get the call up, and he's been doing very well in Memphis and Springfield. But he is a promising young 24-year-old Cuban outfielder who a lot of people have been hoping to see, and now they're going to get a chance to. So we're going to take a look at his stats in a little bit. All right, another change is that Mark Buda has been terminated from the Cardinals. He is the assistant hitting coach, and he actually filled in as the interim head hitting coach last season after the shakeup with Matheny and Mabry, and a lot of people credited him for that turnaround offensively late in the year. But apparently there was a clash of philosophies between Buda and Alberts. And so I guess just old school versus new school is basically what it came down to. And they opted to go new school. I don't know if what we were seeing this year with a lack of offensive productivity had anything to do with a clash of styles, or maybe guys getting one piece of advice from one coach and another opposing piece of advice from another coach. Not really sure. But he may have just been that sacrificial lamb that the Cardinals felt like they needed to make a move to kind of prove a point. I don't know. It's hard to say. But what we're being told anyway is that there was a clash of styles, and he needed to go. Everybody appreciates what he's done. He's been in the organization for a long time. I believe he was in Memphis for 10 years. Worked with a lot of hitters. A lot of good hitters on the major league club came from his direction down there. So sad to see him go, but, I think we might be excited to see what's coming. So the AAA hitting coach now, Jimenez, I believe it's Hobel Jimenez, was called up, so to speak. He will serve the rest of the season as the assistant to Jeff Alberts. And I think he's been around in the organization for a while. I forget exactly how long he's been at the AAA level, whether he was an assistant or the head hitting coach. I forget where that connection with Budaska was. But anyway, he is getting a good opportunity, and hopefully he gets to mesh with the new school way of thinking on the hitting approach. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. He's done some really good things with the Memphis club. They've been hitting really well. A lot of these guys have been called up because of their hitting. So hopefully some of that translates at the big league level. All right, let's take a look at Randy Arozarena's numbers. So as we just said, he's fairly young, 24 years old. He is out of Cuba. He was batting between AA and AAA. He had a 349 average with 10 home runs and 16 stolen bases. And just at the AAA level at Memphis, he was batting 368 average, 442 on base percentage, 568 slugging for an OPS of 1,012. He reached base safely in 37 consecutive games, including a hit for cycle. Just really good numbers. Now, is that what he's always done at the minor league level? Not necessarily. This was an offensive surge for him. The previous season was not really close to that good, but he did have a good fall league, and he's kind of done it long enough at this level to where it seems like this might be legit. I don't know. You never know when you're talking minors versus majors. Though I did read a very interesting article the other day comparing the Major League Baseball, the actual physical ball, that is now used at the AAA level. So as of this season, Major League Baseball is used in AAA. Every other level of minor league baseball, they use a different baseball made in a different part of the world by a different company. And it's definitely different, whether you're talking about the height of the seams or the tightness of the winding or whatever. It's not the same ball. Now, all of the minor leagues, low A, high A, double A, fall league, whatever, they're using the same baseball. And it used to be AAA did too. All of the minors used the same baseball. As of this year, AAA is using a Major League Baseball, and apparently the change in numbers is incredible. The offensive numbers are off the charts at the AAA level this season, and it's noticeable among everybody: players, coaches, umpires, everybody, fans. I don't have any stats right here pulled up for that. I wasn't prepared to do that. I just kind of went off on it off the cuff, but maybe I'll get into that on the next episode. But it's a remarkable difference in the offensive increase at the AAA level, and it's presumably all just based on the ball going out further and faster and more often. So it's pretty interesting. Anyway, that being said, he's having an offensive increase this year, which definitely could be because of this new ball at the AAA level. But the good news is that's the ball they're using at the Major League level. So hopefully that offensive explosion translates to the big leagues. We shall see. I think everybody's excited to see him. He plays all three outfield positions. Apparently, he started out, I want to say, in right field and then was moved to center field at the direction of the big league club. And then when Bader was moved back down to Memphis, he slid back over to, I want to say he's back in right, but I know he spent several games in left as well. Either way, the point is he's played all three plenty. He could play anywhere. So it'll be interesting to see what Schilt does with him. My guess is we'll continue to see Fowler in center. Arozarena will play in right. Hopefully we don't have to keep seeing Edman and Munoz out there. And our outfield will look like Ozuna in left, Fowler in center, Arozarena in right. And I think, we'll kind of bounce around Lane Thomas out there at center. There'll be matchups. Lane Thomas absolutely deserves to play more. Obviously he had the amazing grand slam to take the lead the other night. He's done well when asked to perform. He hasn't had a lot of opportunities, but when he's gotten them, he has taken advantage. So I do think we're going to see more of Lane Thomas. I think we're going to see plenty of Arozarena. It'd be silly to call him up and not play him. But I it's Schilt, it's the Cardinals. They're going to keep trotting Fowler out there, and he's for the most part deserved it. So I don't think he should go anywhere, and same with Ozuna. So it'll be interesting to see how they balance this outfield juggling act, so to speak. All right, I want to take a look at the upcoming schedule. So the Cardinals have 46 games left. We're going to take a look at how that compares with the Cubs and the Brewers, but they have 46 games left, and they need to make up 2 games on the Cubs to win the division. Now, I'm not even going to really look at the wild card and the second wild card and all that. I'm worried about the division. If we don't win the division, I don't know that we have that great a shot at winning the wild card or getting anywhere if we do. So that being said, what do they have coming up? And let's look back at what they've done recently. So over the last month, which coincidentally is the All-Star break. So from the All-Star break to today, the day off, has been a month. And in that time, the Cardinals went 17 and 11 for a winning percentage of 607. At the All-Star break, going into that, they were 500. They were 44 and 44. So definitely they've stepped it up from a 500 record to just over a 600 record in the last month. So let's kind of look at, well, what would happen? I always kind of like to look at, well, what would they do if they played 500 from here on out? And then what if they took 2 out of 3 from here on out? I like to always compare those two sort of swings. 500 would be okay, but not very good. And taking 2 out of 3 or a 666 win percentage would be very good. That's what Tony La Russa always preached. If we can just win 2 out of 3, we'll be fine. So let's take a look at those different swings. If they were to go 500 over the next 46 games, they would finish with a record of 84 and 78, 84 wins. So not very good. Not a terrible season, but not playoff worthy. If they take 2 out of 3, which, like we said, was always Tony's goal, they'd finish 92 and 70. So 92 wins. That's definitely, now we're talking playoff caliber team. Anything over 90 wins, you got our attention. Now, if they play at the pace that they've played over the last month, which was that 607 win percentage, they'd finish with 89 wins, which is right on the cusp of like, okay, now we're, we always kind of say 90 wins is that benchmark, but anymore, you really need to be over 90, especially in a competitive division with the Cubs and Brewers, to really feel like you got a good shot at winning the division. So 89 wins isn't really good enough, in my opinion. It's not bad, and depending on how you stack those wins, if you take more of them from the Cubs and Brewers, you might leapfrog them just enough to kind of keep them down. But 89 would be cutting it close. Of those 46 remaining games, 22 are against teams that are currently 500 or better. 24 are currently below 500. So definitely, I mean, you're only talking two game difference there, but you've got more games against below 500 teams than you do against above 500 teams, and one of those teams is right at 500. That's the Diamondbacks. The teams that are above, the teams that we're going to play who are above 500 include Milwaukee, Washington, the Cubs, and the Diamondbacks. That's it, those 4 teams. Now, we play Milwaukee and Chicago several times in those remaining games. The teams that are below 500 are Kansas City, Cincinnati, Colorado, San Francisco, and Pittsburgh. So again, we're going to have a couple of those teams a few times, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Now, if you had to just, on the surface, looking at those teams, I would say Kansas City's not very good, Colorado's not very good, Pittsburgh's not very good. Cincinnati and San Francisco, while they're under 500, they've been playing much better lately. So as far as a sub 500 team, I'd rather not face the Reds or the Giants right now. But it is what it is. The other 3 teams, I'm not as concerned about. That being said, on the other side of those 4 teams with winning records, Arizona doesn't concern me as much. Washington also doesn't concern me as much as Milwaukee and Chicago, obviously. So, and everybody's kind of struggling now. The Cubs and Brewers especially have, right along with us, have been not able to pull away the way they would have liked to. So, if we play 500 against those better teams, the above 500 teams, and take 2 out of 3 against the worst teams, we would have 11 wins against the 500 teams and 16 wins against the below 500 teams. That would give us 88 on the year. So better than that 500 record, not quite as good as that 666 record, right in line with that 607 record. 88, 89 wins. Now, are we expected to go 500 against the teams who have a better than 500 record? I would like to think so, but you kind of always figure if you can just kind of tread water against the better teams and beat up on the worst teams. So would that be out of the question to expect 88 or 89 wins? No, I don't think it would at all. Is it out of the question to do better than that? Now, I don't know. If you can take 1 or 2 more against those above 500 teams and maybe a couple more from these below 500 teams, now you're up over 90 and now you're talking maybe playoffs. So how does that compare to the Brewers and the Cubs? The Cubs have 44 games left. We have 46. They have 44 left. 23 of those are against teams above 500, and 21 are against teams below 500. So the Cubs are kind of reversed from us. They've got a little bit tougher schedule. If they do what I proposed for the Cardinals, they would finish with 90 wins, maybe 89, depending on how you want to round it. So they'd finish ahead of the Cardinals. The Brewers have 43 games left, 26 of those against teams above 500, only 17 against teams below. So they've got an even tougher weighted schedule. And on top of that, most of those above 500 teams are before September 9th. They don't face a below 500 team until September 9th. That's a ways away. Now, if they can hang around over the next 4 weeks, then they're going to have a very easy schedule to finish out the season. But if they do, again, what I proposed against the good and bad teams, they'll finish with 86 wins. So behind the Cardinals. Right now, the Brewers are only a half game back of the Cardinals, and the Cards are 2 games back of the Cubs. So if this all played out the way, if we can just play 500 here and 2 or 3 there, the Cubs would win the division the way it is now. But as a loyal listener pointed out to me, he suggested looking at the home and road splits. So I did take a brief look at that. The reason he brought it up is because the Cubs have such a drastic difference at home versus on the road. The Cardinals and Brewers are fairly balanced with those home road splits, but the Cardinals have 22 road games versus 24 home games. So that's good. You got a couple more home games. And the Cubs have 23 road games versus 21. So they've got a couple more on the road. But the difference is they play 683 win percentage at home and only 397 win percentage on the road. That is a drastic difference. So they've got more road games coming up, and they play, not quite half, but nearly half as well on the road as they do at home, and they've got more road games. So that's good for us. If they were to take 13 with that, let's say that winning percentage, 397 on the road, that would give them 13 out of those 23. Okay, I left a step out. So they have 23 road games with a 397 win percentage on the road. That would give them 9 wins. And they have 21 home games, which is a 683 win percentage at home. That would give them 14. So 9 and 14 is 23 wins on top of the 64 they already have. That puts them at 87. So 87 wins would put them behind the Cardinals based on this, hypothetical situation. So that's where the advantage of them having more road games where they have a worse percentage is for the Cardinals. Now, of those 23 road games, 13 of them are above teams above 500. And of those 21 home games, 10 of them are above 500. So it's kind of works in our favor where they've got tough teams on the road, more tough teams on the road, but they have more worse teams at home that they tend to beat up on. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But anyway, I realize I threw a lot of numbers at you about records and how many wins and what they got to do and this percentage versus that percentage. It might be hard to follow, and I'm kind of flying through it here, so I apologize. But I just wanted to kind of take a look at the outlook. So we're going to kind of keep an eye on that for the rest of the season. What does the remaining schedule look like? Who are they going to be playing? And how is that going to affect their ability to leapfrog and put some distance between the Cubs and Brewers? So that's all I've got for you. We got plenty of changes to look forward to this week. Some guys coming back, some new faces, and some guys departing, hopefully not for the last time. But all right, that's all I've got. I appreciate you listening and subscribing and downloading. Feel free to get a hold of the show at BFibs Almanac on social media, bfibsalmanac@gmail.com on email. And thanks again. Until next time, I'm Jared, and this is the BFibs Almanac.